Okay, so today I'm going to be doing the Owlation book tag. I will leave a link to where I found this below. I found it on a website. So let's just get right into it. I don't know how many questions I'm going to get through, so let's just jump right in and keep going until I've had enough. Question 1. What's the first book you ever remember reading? Well, this is a really tough one to answer because I don't know if we're referring to even like a picture book or if we're referring to a novel. As far as a picture book is concerned, the first book that I remember reading was Disney's read along, where you have the cassette tape and you listen to it while you're reading it, and that would have been for Beauty and the Beast. As far as a novel, it was a book called Bad Books for Good Boys and Girls or something like that. I'll see if I can find it, and if I can, I'll put an image up on the screen, and if not, then yeah, you can feel free to look it up. But it's something like that, Bad Books for Good Boys and Girls or Naughty Books for Good Boys and Girls. It was a very short novel. I think it was a novella actually, of mini short stories about bad children but for good children to read. Yeah, that was like the very first kind of novel thing. Question 2, did someone read to you as a child? And yes, the answer is absolutely. I had people reading to me as a child. I strongly remember my father reading to me and my sister many times growing up. And yeah, it was a whole lot of fun, and he would make certain concessions. I remember he used to read The Rescuers to us, so he had this picture book, but it was one of those like really big, thick picture books of The Rescuers, and my sister's name is Bianca, with the other mouse's character in The Rescuers being Bernard. He would change the name of Bernard to Francois, and he'd be like, Bianca and Francois, we're doing this. And yeah, I really appreciate that. So for those of you getting really confused, my channel name is Mr. Francy. Francy is my nickname. I was born as Francois, so yeah, that's where that comes from. Question 3. Who is your all-time favourite book character? And my answer for this, without a doubt, has to be Kelsier from The Final Empire, Book 1 in the original Mistborn trilogy. Kelsier is a man that just has a heart of gold. He wants everyone to be treated equally, and he's willing to go as far as he needs to in order to accomplish this goal. He has a ton of charisma that allows him also to get people to listen to what he's trying to say so that he can try to win them over to help him to accomplish this goal. And I just love characters that have hearts of gold. Question 4 is your favourite author of all time and your favourite book by them. Well, my favourite author of all time has to be Brandon Sanderson. This entire shelf that you don't see all of is Brandon Sanderson. So last year I read probably half of the Cosmere works, as well as the first 2 books in the Skyward series, and all of these books in the oh, you can't really see that there, in the Reckoners series. So I came to really love Brandon Sanderson. I'm still reading his works to this day. My favourite Brandon Sanderson book would probably either have to be The Final Empire or this book, Words of Radiance. Question 5. Has a book ever changed your life? And not to sound like someone who just continually is saying the same answer, but the answer to this is yes, there is a book that has changed my life, and that was Mistborn: The Final Empire. Mistborn: The Final Empire revolutionized reading for me in so many ways, and if you want to find out more about that, then you can check out my Mistborn: The Final Empire reviews that I did. I say reviews as in plural because I did 3 videos for Mistborn: The Final Empire, so you can go ahead and check that out. Question 6. What genres do you love? Well, I came into 2020 only loving one genre, and that was fantasy, and while fantasy was the most of all the genres that I read in 2020, my tastes have since changed. Well, not tastes have changed so much as tastes have grown. So I am now incorporating other genres into what I am reading. So here behind me, here I have my dystopian shelf. So I really came to love dystopians. Up here I have my contemporary books. Over here I have some memoirs. I have some horrors, which you can't really see. Right here, I am generally covering them. This is horrors. These are more middle grade, but these are horror books that I've read. LGBTIQ plus books. And as of 2021, I'm going to start reading a lot more classics, which I have up there. So my genres have definitely grown over time. Question 7. Are there any genres you dislike? And the answer to this is yes, there are. And as far as actual genres rather than tropes, my least favorite genre and one that I absolutely refuse to read these days is westerns. The closest I've come to reading a western is Mistborn Era 2 by Brandon Sanderson, because I didn't know it was a western going in. The only thing that really kept me going through that series was because it's linked to the Cosmic Universe. Otherwise, I probably would have given up on it, because westerns are just not my thing. As someone who loves fantasy and has read a ton of different magic systems, to read about 2 or more people getting involved in a battle and having their weapon of choice be something as mortal as a gun, it's just not appealing to me at all. I just find it rather boring. So I have to say westerns are my least favorite genre. Question 8. What author, living or dead, would you love to meet? And my answer to this, again, shouldn't surprise anyone, even just if you've just watched this video, Brandon Sanderson. I'd have a lot of questions for Brandon that I'd love to ask him, because to me, Brandon Sanderson is the ultimate fantasy writer. I'm definitely what we call a fanderson, a fan of Brandon Sanderson, big time, as you can tell. And one of my biggest goals for the end of 2021 is to collect all of his books in the Cosmic Universe, at least the ones that are out currently. So I don't have them all right now, but I should have them all by the end of the year. I feel like I'd have a ton of questions to ask him, and it would be a very entertaining night. Probably not a lot of eating or drinking, but certainly a lot of talking on my part. Question 9. Have you ever met any semi or famous authors face to face? When and where? And the answer to this is yes. When I was younger and in high school, there was an option for students to come to a thing called the Young Writers Conference. Everyone at the school was given the option to come along to the Young Writers Conference, or they could have the day off from school. And so, not surprisingly, the majority of the students took the day off. But as for me, being someone who loved to read and write, this was an opportunity that I couldn't miss. Basically, what happened was we had a lot of famous authors, Australian authors, that came to our school, and they would do mini sort of classes that will go for half an hour. They'd all be in different classrooms, and we'd just travel from classroom to classroom and take little, lessons from them. And it was a lot of fun. And we not only got to meet them, but interact with them and also learn from them. And I had an amazing time. 2 authors that I can mention that I did meet included Morris Gleitzman and Paul Jennings, who at the time were 2 authors that I absolutely loved. Question 10. Do you prefer paperbacks or ebooks? And the answer for this is one that I can very easily tell you. I actually can't read ebooks, and the reason I can't read ebooks is because I have incredibly sensitive eyes when it comes to any form of light, but particularly non-natural lighting. So if I'm going to be stuck on my phone or a tablet or some kind of e-reader and having this light just blasting in my face while I'm reading a book, it's just not going to work for me because my eyes are way too sensitive for that. So that already cancels out ebooks, and just by process of elimination makes paperbacks the winner. But in saying that, I do absolutely celebrate paperbacks, and even if I didn't have an issue with my eyes, I honestly think I will prefer paperbacks anyway, because I much prefer to have a physical copy of the book on hand. Question 11. Have you ever read a self-published book? And the answer to this is I honestly don't know. I probably should do a lot more research into the authors that I read or the books that I read to determine if they are self-pubbed or not. But if you've seen a lot of my videos, maybe you can tell me in the comments below if there's any of the books that you've seen that I've read that are self-pubbed, or if you follow me on Goodreads, my link to my Goodreads is in the description below. Feel free to look through all the books that I've read since the start of 2020, and if any of them are self-pubbed, let me know. Question 12. What book do you hope and pray will turn into a TV show or movie one day? And the answer to this is definitely going to be the Mistborn Era 1, for what the Final Empire did for me, as well as Book 2, the Well of Ascension, and Book 3, the Hero of Ages. I would love to see them adapted into a film. The latest news that I've heard is that Brandon Sanderson is currently working on a script himself right now. He is actually writing the script. So this would be amazing, because Brandon Sanderson would be sticking true to his own vision, because he's the one that's writing the script. So I will be very excited. The moment this comes out, best believe I'm going to watch this. Question 13. Do you think there are any movies out there that were better than the original source material, the book? And my answer to this is yes, I do think there are. I also think there are TV shows that do have adaptations that are better than the book, the original source material. But if we're just sticking with movies, my answer for this would have to be The Princess Diaries. So I grew up kind of watching film 1 and film 2 of Princess Diaries many times. I love it. The whole Anne Hathaway and Julie Andrews as a queen, it was just, oh my god, it was everything for me. It gave me so much life. And then in January this month, I actually read the first Princess Diaries book by Meg Cabot, and oh my gosh, Disney took so many creative liberties, but for the better. The film shines so much brighter, in my personal opinion, than the book does. And just quickly, I want to add in with TV shows, because there's a TV show that does much better than the book. In my mind, The Magicians, the TV show adaptation, was so much better than Lev Grossman's book. Haters, feel free to come at me. Let's start a dialogue in the comments below. But I did not like the book at all, but I loved the series. Question 14, has a book you've loved ever been turned into a TV series or a film that you hated? And my answer to this is absolutely there have been. There have been many times where this has occurred. So to go with a recent read, I recently read the classic The Phantom of the Opera and then watched the 2004 film adaptation. And the film adaptation in my mind was so completely different that I was very disheartened by what they'd done with the adaptation. Now, just for a bit of background, there is an in-between, and the in-between was the musical. So Andrew Lloyd Webber purchased the rights of the musical to Phantom of the Opera, and he took a book that was the original source material that was originally created as a horror and turned it into a musical romance. So he definitely changed the entire tone and feel of what Gaston Leroux, who is the author, was going for in the first place. And this really upset me, to be honest. Question 15, what is more important, prose or story? And this is a tough one for me because the prose needs to be... How do I put this? It needs to be standard prose, otherwise I'm going to have so many issues. If you are writing an incredibly flowery book, Jay, Christoph, then I'm really going to hate it. But yeah, if the prose is standard, if the writing style is a standard, easy to read writing style, I'm going to appreciate it a whole lot more. And my reasoning for this is because I do preference the story over the prose. But if you are going to write such a flowery writing style that it's going to detract me from the story, then it's going to annoy me. Question 16, what attracts you to a book? The cover, the blurb, or recommendations from others. The majority of the books that I do go out and purchase, because I got used to purchasing books while we're in lockdown for COVID-19, books that have been recommended to me through other booktubers. So it's more recommendation, but I will say that I can be very... I don't even know what the word is, but I like my covers to look nice, so I will shop around and see what the different editions of the same book do look like with their cover art, and if there is a cover art that I prefer, then that is what I am going to go for. A big example of this is Tor Publishing. So Tor Publishing have their own editions of the first series of Mistborn, and that is the US edition with Tor Publishing, whereas this is the UK version. And while it's fine, and I don't have any issues, and it certainly does look more adult if I were to look at these two books in a store, this one appeals to me a whole lot more than this one. This looks like some kind of really weird painting, and I'm just not someone who likes paintings, really, where this looks really appealing, like a woman ready to jump into a battle, where this is more, I'm part of a Mooney. I was going to do a UK versus US editions video. If you still want me to do this, let me know. It ended up getting shoved aside for something else that I needed to do. But if you want to see it, let me know. Question 17, have you read any of the old classics and what do you think of them? I have not read a lot of classics. In fact, in 2020, I picked up The Great Gatsby. I had to think of what it was called. The Great Gatsby. And I DNF'd it, then I picked it back up again because everyone said, it gets better. And I read to like the 3/4 mark and DNF'd it again because it just wasn't working for me. And then I decided in December when I was doing my goals for 2021 that I want to make more of an effort with my classics. So I ended up picking up A Christmas Carol by Charles Dickens, and I absolutely loved this book. And I also read The Christmas Box, which I consider to be a classic, by Richard Paul Evans, and I absolutely loved that book as well. This month, in January, as I've already said, read The Phantom of the Opera, and I really loved that. Question 18, has a book ever scared you or given you nightmares? And the answer to this is no. I read horror books that have completely let me down because they haven't been scary at all. And then I came across this book, Cenote, by Sean Horton. This book convinced me that I was going to have a nightmare. I did not end up having one, but I was convinced I was going to have one. So that's the closest that I've come to having a nightmare with a book. Question 19. Are there any books out there that are popular that you dislike? Honey, how much time do you have? If I was good at editing, I'd have it rolling up on the screen like these millions of books that are popular that I don't love. But let me give you some very quick highlights. Anything written by J.R.R. Tolkien. Do not talk to me about Lord of the Rings. I'm scarred enough. It's just not my cup of joe, cup of tea, cup of what? It's just not my thing. Six of Crows, which I'm starting to realize that it's more of a polarizing book. There are some people who also did not love Six of Crows, but there are people who loved that book. The Lies of Locke Lamora, oh my gosh, has been advertised big time over the past couple of years, and I just did not like that book at all. And Jay Kristoff's book that I cannot think of what the title is, but that's a good thing because I don't want to remember it anymore, but I'll put it up on the screen for you. I did not care for this book either at all. And finally, question 20, are there any books that a lot of people don't like but you consider to be your guilty pleasure? One of them staring you right in the face. The Selection, I will scream praises for The Selection from the mountaintops. I love The Selection so much, and there are a lot of people who are saying, oh, I liked it when I was younger, but I don't like it now. No, screw that. I love this series, and I did not read it when I was younger, granted, so I don't know how I would feel had I done that. But yeah, this is definitely a guilty pleasure for me. Oh, another one, a very big guilty pleasure, City of Bones by Cassandra Clare. A lot of people hate this book. A lot of people hate this author, and if you want to see my review, it was the latest video I did prior to this one, so go ahead and check that out, where I address some of the things, not everything, there's more that I'm learning post doing that video, but some of the things that people have said about Cassandra Clare in general and about this book in general that I strongly disagree with. I love this book, have no problem with it at all, and so I don't want to say it's a guilty pleasure because I don't feel guilty loving this book. I will stand up on the hilltop and say, yay, Cassandra Clare, woo! You know, I'll be very vocal about the fact that I love this book. And that is where I am going to leave it. I hope you enjoyed this Owlcation Book Tag. Letting you guys go peace, blessings, and so much love. I post videos every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and I'll see you again soon. Mwah! Thank you so much for watching, and happy reading!